Good evening. Today is Sunday, September 26th, approximately 11:11 p.m. Got to go to work in a couple hours, but the Board of School Directors requested that I present my presentation to the public prior to the meeting and make sure it's recorded and available because they're going to go as a virtual meeting, not an in-person meeting. So let me share that with you here. Get me out of the way. So basically, I requested a meeting. I've done this several times to try to hold our board accountable, but now we've got a full complement of board members, and the special meeting was called by Larry Stern. So we had Barb Bose, Gail Mahalik, Joy Beers, David Bradley, and Richard Belt all agreeing to have a special meeting on Wednesday, September 29th at 7 p.m. in the boardroom. They all agreed to it. Specific to student safety, specific to some of the bullying issues, fixing our hazing policy, and then adjusting the means to which the board can be engaged by our stakeholders. So let's go through this, and I'll try to be quick because we can all look at this at any time. But basically, I asked for a meeting, see attached Safe Schools report. Now, the Safe Schools report come from the Department of Education. You can pull them right up online. Here they go. They go by, you just pull up the website and you pull up Lehighton, and every time you click on it, it will download a, right here, downloads a file, and it just gives you the report. Okay. So Safe School reports, corresponding board agenda, and the policies, right? So the board meeting is for the board to act in compliance of our existing LASD policies. So I'm giving you the presentation so that we as a community can hold our public servants accountable, and then they can hold the employees accountable. It's a pretty straightforward process. It's within the chain of command. It's within our responsibility. So the reason for this was back in the day, a little while ago, the State Auditor General's report, performance audit, which is attached, referenced the board's failure to comply. That was right here. Did not comply with its own board policy. The attached safe school reports and spreadsheet show Lehighton Area School District has a major problem when compared with Carbon County schools. So we pulled the Carbon County report, shows total arrests 22 for the entire county. And then we pulled the Lehighton report, which shows, again, 22. So we had all the arrests, and a lot of them involving law enforcement. 89, we had 69 of the 89. So we got to take a look at what's going on within our district if we want to protect these students. Right? So these are the offenses. Possession of weapons. Now, if you take a look at this, this shows that we had 2 in our school and Carbon County. I believe we had 4. There's a little side note. 8 detentions in all of Carbon County. 8 kids got detention in all of Carbon County. Look at the in-school suspensions and the out-of-school suspension. So we might not be implementing our policies properly. So it's either way. It's in here somewhere about the number of weapons, and it looks like I believe it was 4 within our. There it is, 4 within our county, and 2 within our district. Continue on with our district, cyberbullying, and our cyber harassment, sorry. This is the age groups. So they actually break down these reports by age group and class. So this is the age group we should focus our attention to make sure we're providing oversight. Very rare for a young individual, to break policy or break the law or do something to get them arrested if they're being properly supervised. It's usually pretty rare. Anyway, grade levels. We'll buzz through this. District employees, parents, students, and the IEPs, students with IEPs. So these, in our district, our issue, according to the report, is with the students. So we should monitor the students and protect them from each other the best we can. Number that were done on school hours. This is pretty interesting. There's 97 instances. 97. Again, we had no detentions. I find that odd. But according to this report, we have no detentions. We have lots of in-school suspensions and out-of-school suspensions. It shows that we had no law enforcement for parental involvement. But here's very interesting. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit for you. See if I can. Sorry. Should be able to zoom this in. I apologize. I won't bore you with my skills as a computer operator here. But anyway, victims that did not sustain physical injury, 53. Serious bodily injury, none. According to the Lehighton Area School District's report for 2019 to 2020, we had none serious bodily injuries. Injuries, but not serious bodily injury, also none. So here you have a report that's going to the state that should have went through board oversight, which it did not do. At least I didn't get an opportunity to do it. Maybe I missed the meeting. But either way, somebody should have been able to catch this, because we did have a January board meeting where at least one person showed up and said their child had a head injury from bullying and was sent to the pediatric ICU. It was on the Times News. It was on TV 13. I think it even went to WNEP. Poor kid was in a hospital, pediatric ICU, injured from bullies. So why is our report not showing that? Something to be reviewed. Buck stops with the board. Also, it shows that nobody was expelled for a weapon, yet we had 2 instances of weapons. And it shows that nobody had out-of-school suspension, but we had 2 for weapons. That's an interesting little statute. We should hold our administration accountable and ask why. Now, we don't need to know the person's name or anything else. We respect personal privacy, but we should look at that. Basically, we have a responsibility under our laws, our responsibility to follow our policy, which is basically law at local level. And that policy says the superintendent shall be responsible for ensuring that the district is run in accordance with our current policy. Very important. We have policy 011. It says engaging and promoting community support by seeking input, building a support network. I think I solved how to do that. And I'd like this board to adopt that. It's a very simple process. We're going to have a suggestion box. Let anyone that wants to make a suggestion send it directly to the board so we have access to any suggestion from our community. Here again, engaging stakeholder input, seeking input, ensuring public access, seeking input. It's our responsibility. We're supposed to listen to the public. They should be provided with the information about schools and engage the board and staff to encourage input and support of our school system. What better way than to ask what's happening within our schools? Have it go to a P.O. box, come to our board, make sure we know what's happening. Because apparently our Safe Schools report doesn't really show or reflect what we're being told by the parent. There's a disparity there, so we just want to verify and give them an opportunity. They might have a great suggestion for us, and we should engage those, obviously, from our policy. Engage the stakeholders to provide that input. We're public servants. The board intends, through its two-way communication, needs and suggestions, right, to be responsive to the community. Very much details exactly what our job is and how we should be doing it. And again, since the Auditor General found that we are not in compliance, maybe we should take a more active view of how to be in compliance. And now that we have a full complement of board members, what a great opportunity to do that. If you look at our policy on hazing, it hasn't been changed since 2008, so one of my motions in this meeting is to pull that up in the rotation to get it reviewed right away, like next month. We do know that there was a new law in 2018 in the state of Pennsylvania that employees in education and the means to which to deal with hazing was mostly focused around colleges, but still is a responsibility for educational institutions like ours. We're a government-run school. We should follow the law. Our anti-bullying. Now, I was able to get this reviewed back in 2019 after we had some issues. We sought to implement the Safe to Say, make sure everybody's trained on that, and we did review it. But since then, we're still seeing problems. So we should review this one as well and check it out. I think just get a P.O. box. Pretty straightforward, simple. And that would do it. So the idea, the primary responsibility of the board is to adopt policies by which the schools are administered. This is all written in our policy. This meeting will comply with the responsibility ordained by our oath of office. Right? Larry's cooperation was received, so that's great. Way to go, Larry, having a meeting. And we CC'd the press and public. Now I'm going to just go through this for a second. You might think that our 2019, 2020 report was a fluke, but you can pull them up. Right, here's our Safe to Say. Here's, if you have anything about bully prevention, here's our contact at the state level. I heavily engage any individual. We have state government, federal government, state government, and then you got your local government. If you ever feel concerned, going to the state level kind of gets out of the mist. Anyway, there's our Safe to Say for the state level. If you have any educator misconducts, this is the method in which the Pennsylvania Department of Education processes staff members that are supposed to do things that may or may not have done them, and parents or students can file them. This is our Safe Schools. So you can go to Lehighton and you can pick up a variety of years. Each time it gets you a spreadsheet and a little PDF, and there it is. So this is 1920, the one we just did. There's Carbon County. Right? Lehighton again, sorry. 1819, we had 17 arrests. From a county level, 1819, 17 arrests, all of them 2 years in a row now. All Lehighton's. And then you do the next year. This is 1718. They didn't show arrests, they just showed offenders. And then that would be the county report of offenders. So this is relatively a newer problem that we're seeing that we need to address. Appreciate it greatly. Firmly believe that now that the presentation is completed, the public should have an opportunity to comment prior to the motions being passed under the Sunshine Act. And that's why we have inside of our agenda that I'm sorry, give me a second here. Here's the agenda I submitted, that we have presentation first, then public comment, and then here's the motions. Let's get a suggestion box and a P.O. box. Let's assign one of our directors to manage that P.O. box. For the board as a whole to instruct the policy committee to seek stakeholder input, review the policy, and make recommendations necessary to update these two main policies for the protection of students within our community. This is all common sense stuff. This should be logical, rational review of these policies. Makes sense. And also the incidents on the safe school reports don't need any private information, just a big review. Hey, what kind of weapons did we have? What took place? You know, why are some of these other injuries that we were talking about not on the report? Let's see if we can correct this report. If we need to submit a corrected report to the state, that makes sense. It's our responsibility. We should meet our responsibility. Policy meeting is an appropriate place for that. Currently scheduled for October 6th. And then the last one was for the board as a whole to instruct Larry Stern, our president, to add Barbose to the policy committee, the new appointed director, leaving Larry Stern, replacing Larry Stern and removing him as a committee member, but adding him as our policy shows within our policy that he's an ex officio member, as he's the ex officio member of all committees. So no problem with him showing up, no problem with him participating. Depending on how you read Robert's Rules of Order, whether or not he can or can't vote on those committees makes sense. But the reality is you should have a full complement for each committee, and therefore it should reflect the board as a whole. And then you got director's concern, public comment, and other opportunities. Thank you very much for the presentation and the opportunity to do this on a video. Since this is now going to be a Zoom meeting, hopefully this prevents our illustrious board of directors from editing, and make sure the presentation is presented in whole. I'm releasing it tonight, Sunday night, so that everybody can review it. If you have any questions or anything else, my email's available, dbradley@lehightongovt.org. Have yourself a great evening. Really appreciate your attention and time. This is a very important matter. It's a special meeting. We tried doing it before. We need this special meeting. It should be focused just on students, student safety. And this board should take the responsibility to ensure that our staff are all trained properly, that our administration is administering our policies, and that these students are protected. I think we all agree that a whole bunch of questions were missed, like why were certain students not supervised? What took place here? We don't need private information. We need big picture answer of what policies are working and what policies are not working, and giving the antiquated version of these policies. I think it's time to have them reviewed. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.